Thank you for joining us. This is Paul Wilson.
And Chris Hemke.
And you're listening to the Diesel Performance Podcast. Guys, we're back from Ultimate Callout Challenge there in Brownsburg, Indiana. Man, I'm a little tired, Chris, but I'm fucking excited today.
Yeah, you see all of the competitors, all of the vendors at the DPI Expo. If anyone had the opportunity to go check out Exergy's booth over at the DPI Expo, it was impressive to say the least. They had their engine with the standalone ECU and harness with the hand throttle.
You got to put your hands on the hand throttle, didn't you?
I actually interviewed Rick, and one of the intros for it was the engine revving. Rick did it. I was too scared. No, that's just how it worked out. But, it's always great to see those guys. They're always very welcoming. There were so many people at their booth, wealth of knowledge that they offer and carry.
Yeah.
We're very, very thankful to have them as a sponsor to the show, and as being as welcoming and inviting as they have been over the years to us.
Hey man, speaking of awesome booths and a sponsor of the show, I'm sure everybody got down to go check out Whirly's setup. Yep. You got to see an L5P twin turbo kit, more colors that have ever been in my Crayola
single
box.
turbo L5P.
Single turbo, looks twisted. Yeah,
no one laughed at that.
Nasty. It was nasty. Whirly's another great sponsor of the show. Yep. Hey guys, they keep us here. So if you want to keep listening to Diesel Performance Podcast, check out Whirly, check out Exergy, and of course, come back and talk to Chris and myself. Yep. We're over here at Duramax Tuner Calibrated Power. One of our big pushes lately has been the Diesel Insight videos. I'm sure you guys have checked them out. If not, there's a whole playlist. I think we're over 50 or 60 Diesel Insight videos in that playlist on the Duramax Tuner YouTube channel.
Pretty much any question that you could have, you can find it on Diesel Insights. And if you have it, it's coming. So one way or another, you're taken care of.
And hey, man, if you got questions about your truck specifically or just in general, feel free to shoot us a message on our Facebook page. And we will eventually get back to you, or I'll refer you to Chris and he'll have to call you. So one of those two will happen. But guys, one of the reasons I'm the most excited today is there was just a lot of awesome shit that went down at UCC. But I think the biggest splash that we've all seen and heard about is Tony Burkhard and the Dirty Hooker diesel truck exploding on the dyno.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to bring this to you in a two-part series. So today, we're going to talk to Tony Burkhard, and tomorrow, we're actually going to find out what the hell happened to the engine.
I'm excited for tomorrow, man.
Let's kick it over to the interview with Tony. All right, guys, Calibrated Power sponsoring special guest of the week. Today we have Tony Burkhard on the line. Tony, how the hell are you?
Well, that's the first time I heard someone call me by Tony this week. It's usually Sparky or Smokey or something like that.
What's up, Fireball? How you doing tonight?
Yeah. Just don't call me a flamer.
That would go well with the hooker mindset.
I love it.
Flamer hooker.
Right.
Is next year's truck the Flaming Hooker? Hey guys, what we're talking about is UCC, and Tony Burkhard, owner of Dirty Hooker Diesel,
made a splash.
Yeah, lit on fire. I'm assuming all of our listeners have gone on and watched this video from all 50 angles that are available of it.
Yes.
Right.
I know we've dissected it in slow-mo here in the shop as a team as well. Tony, obviously great showing. Here's the thing that I think gets left out of this story. 6th place overall at UCC with a truck that had an epic, catastrophic crash on the dyno. It literally blew up and stayed on fire
for a while.
Yep.
For a while. Yep.
Tell us about it, man. Let's start.
Let's start
go ahead, Chris. Go.
So Friday morning, right? We all know that the weather. We don't have to beat the weather up any more than it had to. What did day one look like on the drag strip?
So this Friday was actually my very first own competition in drag racing. I've never been in a drag racing competition. Now, last year I had Mike Moore was the driver, but we had a truck that just kind of flopped on the drag strip, right? Because we had like 4 major issues we were trying to battle on a brand new truck, and then really pissed me off. So this year we completely went through the truck, and the only thing that was the same was the sheet metal and the frame. So the first day on the drag strip, I mean, the Sunday before UCC was the first time to actually fire up the truck and get it to move on its own power. And I had a drag strip locally here open up for me It was 40 degrees out, and you could tell we got very little data from trying to go down the drag strip. It was horrible, you know. But the one pass we took so much power out of it. I seen a guy in a wheelchair racing me down the track, but you know, we found out that at least it shifted. You know, the training shifted like it was supposed to. So, all right, let's package it up, and you know, we worked on it to the last minute, right? So when Friday come around and we got a chance to get in the drag strip, and the very first pass, we didn't know what we should put for power, and I said, well, let's see what it'll do, and that thing went straight. I mean, a screaming bullet couldn't go straighter than that thing did going down the track. I mean, it was just awesome. I don't remember what it was, a 580 something, I'm thinking. So we added a little bit more power, and we got a second pass of a 562, and I don't know, it was 135 or 137. Just awesome. Couldn't ask for any more. You know, couldn't ask for it to be any better. And there's lots of room.
Can I quickly break in here? So that's just so our listeners are clear. That's 562 in an eighth mile, and you said 137 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yep.
Fucking scary, man.
On an untested truck.
Right. First drag racing competition. Yeah.
Not even my first drag racing competition, and well, the truck's second, but the first on that new setup. I got Lynn from Fire Punk to come over, and before I actually raced, we talked about the suspension setup a little bit, and he gave me some cues on the 4-link. Those guys are awesome too. They're awesome, great bunch of guys. But back to the drag strip, it was just awesome pass. You know, we did 2 passes, and it was just, they were flawless. Wanted to turn it up some more, do a little more fine tuning. We have a couple tenths we can shave off the 60 foot, and I thought, well, let's save it for the bracket racing at the end of the day. You know, you sit and wonder, should I make another pass on it? Should I not? What should I do? So we decided to hold back, and of course I'm kicking myself in the butt. Amateur mistakes, right? So then that night, it was pretty cold for the bracket racing, and when I screwed up again, another amateur mistake. The truck tripped the light and backed back out, and it was just at that 7 seconds, and red lighted me. So that was, you know, like I said, I got to get in this. I got to run it some more, get in the seat, put some more time in it.
Oh.
But that was just an awesome. Friday was awesome. I think I was the fastest Duramax all day, and that was just a second pass on a fresh setup. You know.
Jeez. Hell yeah.
I could be wrong, but I was pretty sure that was a 5th or 6th fastest on the drag strip for the day on a new truck. So that was awesome. We got it.
Proves my point once again. Proves my point. Drag racing takes no talent. Clearly, anybody could do it. Tony jumped in it knowing nothing and just clicked off a 562. Everybody should run to your local drag strip. You're all professionals.
Taking
I've said
that
this
from,
before. I'll say it again.
From someone who drives an 18-second BMW.
Don't ever talk like I would beat on my car like that. That's for Tony to do.
So,
that was 18 seconds in the 8th, right?
Right.
No, that is yeah.
The way I drive it, yeah.
So Friday comes to an end. What did you guys do? What did you make any changes going into Saturday for the dyno event?
We had found a couple of little issues. We worked till 5:30 in the morning on the truck to get it ready for the dyno. Dyno day come around and wait our turn, right? Of course, we had to wait out the weather a little bit, and I'm sure no one mentioned the weather yet, right?
What weather? The weather was perfect. What the fuck are you talking about?
Right. So we prepping for the dyno and get the bitch up in the dyno, and lo and behold, the turbo decided to she decided to turbo decided to exit stage left.
Oh.
And then what was the aftermath?
So when the Charger blew up, and I mean, if you watch the video, you can see the hood buckle up. It looks like 6 inches. I mean, there was a shockwave from it when that Charger come apart. And we weren't overspinning the Charger. We didn't have crazy dryer pressure. We didn't have crazy boost. It was balanced nice. Everything that we pulled, what data we did get we didn't see anything wrong with it. When it blew apart, a chunk of debris severed the wire harness and blew the fuse on the ECM. So when it did that, the regulators on the pumps went wide open. So 214 mil pumps spinning almost 5,000 RPMs. You can imagine the volume of fuel.
Oh my God.
Another chunk of debris knocked off the nipple on the fuel rail, the line and all, just cleaned it right off the fuel rail.
So then fuel's getting sprayed
straight up under the hood. It was spraying off the bottom of the hood.
Oh no!
So that debris, that piece of either the wheel or the cast housing of the Charger, knocked a hole in the cold side pipe right at the intake manifold. It's a hole that's you could shove a banana in it. So now you have a hole right on top of the motor, and you have such a volume of fuel spraying up, hitting the bottom side of the hood, and splashing down and going right in the motor.
Oh my God.
I still, to this day, struggle at listening to the videos of that truck just running on fuel, the screaming of that motor. And, we're guessing it was spinning 10,000 RPMs.
Jesus Christ.
And so, meanwhile, when that Charger blew up, the hood stack fell down onto the belt that runs the oil pump. And it destroyed the oil pump belt. So the minute and 2 seconds there, we're assuming that most of that was with zero oil pressure. There was no belt on it, on the oil pump, so it was running forever with no oil pressure.
Oh my God.
At whatever RPMs it was running. So that was the fire. That's what was feeding the fire. And Mark Brovac was running the truck for me. Had my fire suit on, and Mark and I have been, our relationship has been it's been quite the bang or ball of fire, or I don't know. There's really been a fireworks in the 13 years that we've worked together, and when you live on the cutting edge, once in a while you're going to get cut. So
no shit, man.
So he luckily escaped injuries. There's holes through the firewall, the windshield smashed from debris. It was a hot mess. He struggled at finding the door handle because it's behind the roll bar. Or where the roll bar is the door handle's right behind it. Prior to going on the dyno, we removed the door bar and the net and everything else, which is good to help him get out easier.
Right.
But he was in there for a good long time until he decided that he better eject.
Yeah. Can we talk real quick? Something I was a little disappointed by was seeing a lot of people blaming the dyno operator for not grabbing that door handle. Any comments on that, Tony?
Well, put yourself in an explosion and see what you do. I mean, it's a split second. You know, it happens so fast, and you catch yourself going 2-3 different ways all at the same time.
And you literally saw that in the video, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, you saw him go in 3 different directions in a second and a half.
With no fire suit, with no
Nothing.
emergency training. I mean, here's a guy who's there doing his job. He works weekends.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, he's standing on top of the dyno. The way I saw it, he went to go to the door.
Yep.
I can't imagine. You're talking about 10,000 RPM, no oil pressure, 30,000 PSI coming out of 2 14 mil pumps.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the fucking heat that was right there. I mean, guys who
You
were
saw
down
it
there
with
with
the way it
media,
inflamed
guys
up.
who were down there who
Yep.
were pit crew, everybody was just telling me you could feel the heat off of this in a massive way over, like you said, such a short amount of time. I thought the operator acted appropriately. Get the fuck out of there. That's what his job is. He is not an emergency service rescue personnel. He was not equipped to grab a metal door next to whatever ridiculous temperature the heat was when that was happening.
The other thing is Cody wouldn't know that Mark wouldn't be able to find the door handle.
Right.
You know, that's you assume everyone knows right where the door handle's at. Well, the truck is, for Mark sitting at, the second time he ever sat in a truck, and to know exactly where the door handle is when you can't see. I mean, he had to feel around because it was full of smoke and couldn't breathe. It's a tough thing because you kind of have to regroup. Anytime that there's, I've been on the fire service and EMS for a long time, and anytime you pull up the scene of an emergency, you have to take a second and check your surroundings and calm down and get your thoughts in order. And it just, things happen so fast, and you got to think about it for a second before you can take your next proper step in helping someone. The first thing is save your own ass, and then second of all is once you're safe, and then is to go back and save someone else. So anything they teach you, in fire, that you're number one, and you have to operate in a safe manner also.
Right.
So that's kind of the excitement there. There's, with that fire, it burned up our wire harnesses, our fuel lines, our oil lines. It was pretty charred. On that note, there is a couple safety things. I hear all the time, well, if there would have been an air knife on it, air knife would have done
Nothing.
zero for the situation.
Thank you.
That charger was blown right apart. It was just a skeleton, and one of the instincts is I hit it first with the fire extinguisher I had. It was one of those fire extinguishers. They're $500 for a little extinguisher. Shoot the intake. Well, that didn't slow it down at all, and it's like, wow, we're in trouble because obviously none of that is connected anymore.
Right.
I burned up the first fire extinguisher, and they sprayed some more on it. So the air knife wasn't going to help. But a three-way valve, all my trucks are getting three-way valves now, and they're all going to have fire suppression systems on them. If I would have triggered a fire suppression system, it would have stopped it. So
What's a three-way valve?
Dump valve to, I use a Waterman pump as a supply pump. That's like a Fast or a Air Dog.
Okay.
Mine is a mechanical. Waterman pump runs directly off the motor. So that motor's spinning, it's pumping. So on the pressure side of that pump, we'll put a three-way valve, so the cable will go inside the cab. If you hit that, it'll send the fuel back to the tank instead of to the CP3 pumps.
Oh, okay. So you don't keep feeding that fire at that point.
Right. You take the fuel away from the pumps. We would have had a 2 or 3 second flash. None of the harnesses would have been hurt. And we still would have had the explosion, but we could have saved the truck, you know. So between and doing the fire suppression, they're expensive, but I got a lot of damage to the truck, and it would save that damage.
Yeah.
One thing that I forgot to mention, there is a slow-mo video of a piece of charger going between Cody's head and the A-pillar, and you can see it flying, and he's pretty lucky he didn't get hit by that.
Well, I mean, that kind of brings me right into the next question. With the catastrophic failure that took place this year and seeing that video live where Cody goes in 100 different directions in a matter of seconds, do you think that's going to tighten up the safety and what's going to be required for UCC next year?
Obviously, it's easy for us to say that, GC should be wearing a fire suit and wearing a helmet. Are they going to enforce that? I don't know. That is a pretty dangerous spot. Maybe a swing in. What would work really nice is a bulletproof, kind of like a swing in glass, at least 2 sides to protect him from the truck.
Yeah.
And he could be behind some bulletproof glass would be maybe just another idea. I know it's not something that just takes 5 minutes to add on to the dyno, but that may be something to think about.
Yeah.
But for him to sit up there all day in a fire suit and helmet, well, there is a price on life. I mean, who goes to work saying that I want to die on the dyno today?
Right. Yeah, you said it. And this is something I think we're not trying to hit at the UCC or the DPI Expo here. I think what we're saying is every year we've seen not only the competition step up, but new safety standards enforced. If you guys remember the first year at Indy, there's a pretty iconic picture of, competitors' family being down there with kids next to the track as trucks are launching. Hey, listen, I got a kid. I would love to take him down and give him that view. But from a safety standpoint, I think we all also see things like that are a problem. And then last year we had a problem with even the media guys, bellies literally pressing against the dyno while a truck is running. Yep. This year there was a 20-foot rule. So they really tried to mark off, like, hey, man, we don't care who your pit crew is. We don't care what camera company you're here for. Like, back up. Yeah. And I think after seeing even the more stringent safety standards over the last 3 years come in, I think we all recognize there's probably more to be done to keep people safe. The event's a lot of fun. It's the biggest diesel event probably in the world. But yeah, I mean, when you're at 1,500 horsepower while exploding, which, by the way, Tony, I think I got that right, 1,572 horsepower when it popped.
Yep.
It's getting nuts.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what I really want to say here is, after all of this, after this major, huge thing happens, you come back out and pull 300 fucking feet the next day, 308? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so I figured I was done for the weekend, right? I mean, the thing's crispy.
I'd have gone home. The weather was shit. My truck blew up. I'd see you boys later.
So they flatbed the truck to the pits, and when I come back to the pits, there's hundreds of people surrounding the truck, and I'm like, well, I guess we can start cleaning up, right? And then a woman says, well, what do we got to do? I kind of like, what do you mean, what do we got to do? And I don't know, someone piped up, well, there's a motor. Let's get her done. And I'm like, alrighty, well, I got people tugging at me. Let's get this thing going, you know. We did half the show by blowing it up. Let's do the other half the show, putting it back together. Right?
There you go. That's one mindset.
So
I would have been drinking at the bar, being like, "Fuck me! Why did this happen?"
Some stripper would have heard
Oh,
my
I-
sad story.
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah. Oh, I was thinking, yeah.
My hooker
I was
burned up.
thinking we were. Yeah. Yeah, she's a real ball of fire. She is hot, man. Have you seen her flame?
So where did the spare the spare engine harness, like where did all these parts come about? Because I know you brought a spare motor, but I mean you weren't planning this.
I didn't bring a spare motor.
Oh.
I brought a motor to sell.
Hooking on the side. I like it.
Yes, I'm like, I brought a motor to sell, put on display, show, whatever. This last year's UCC motor. You guys take it off my hands. That motor wasn't set up to go in that truck. We changed so many things. So we get the truck turned around, backed in our tent, and we spend 20 minutes and just start shedding scrap metal, right? I mean, we're tearing it apart, trying to get a good look at what all's damaged. And the mines, there's, a lot of great friends, and they're like, we need to evaluate this and think about what we're doing and if we can really pull it off. And nothing worse than having people helping spend all night trying to get it done and then be unsuccessful, right?
Sure.
So Phil from Exergy is like, well, I got a dyno engine harness. And let's look at the trans harness. Trans harness was charred but usable. Yes, I have a motor there, but we have to switch a lot of parts to be able to set it in because we're going from a dry sump to an oil, internal oil pump. And we had mid-mount plated the motor this year and had the big diff in it for truck pulling in the front. And we ended up having to switch that all back out, and that's why we didn't run cuts, because I had a small 9 1/4 in it instead of 11 1/2. So we did evaluated it, and everyone's standing around me. He's like, "Well, we're not going to stop. We're gonna make this happen." And people just started wrenching. I had groups of people coming over, 2, 3, 4 mechanics from the competitors, and they'd roll their toolbox over, and they just said, "Tell us what you want done." Not one person said that this couldn't be done, or why are you doing it this way? So it's really awesome because you take a whole nother shop, and they have their way of doing things, right?
Right.
And all he said is, "What do you want us to do? We're yours. Put us to work." And Lock Performance was the first group with the roll their toolbox over and started swapping parts on motors for me to be able to put that big motor in there. It was just awesome. They did shifts all night. There was different groups. When they got their trucks done, they'd come over and work on ours, or some of them said, "Well, we can work for a while, but we got to go back and finish putting our truck together for truck pulling." So, I mean, this is all night long. I don't think there was ever less than 8 people working on that truck at one time.
How long before the sled pull on Sunday did it take for the truck to get together? Like, how long was the truck together prior to pulling Sunday?
So when we were ready to pull on the track, during the driver's meeting, the question was it okay if I was the last puller, just to make sure I got everything going. And all the pullers were all, no one had a problem with me being the last puller. So when we finally got the truck done, the pull had started. And was pretty cool to come down that through the center of the field there on its own power. You know, my guys are sitting on the weight box, and my woman's inside the cab, and you know, the crowd goes wild. It just give you goosebumps, makes hair raise on the back of your neck. Felt really good. So the poll had started when we actually arrived. So we did pretty good time. We had a couple hours to spare. We had a few hours to spare.
The last minute hooker holding up to her name, man. I cannot fucking believe that story.
I mean, Alligator had their live builds, but Tony, like, you legit had a live build.
Yeah. Someone put up a camera in there, a time lapse. 1320 was busy with videoing. They're supposed to have a second video to go with the first one. Man, guys brought over boxes of hoses and fittings and parts. Danville's dyno intercooler is what we ended up using for an intercooler. That's ratchet strap it down, put some plastic on the top. We duct taped the plastic to seal it so it wasn't splashing water in the turbos. And whatever it took, you know, we got her done. Worley was over welding. My two welders had worked all night, you know, so they had 24 hours in their system of wrenching, plus they only got 2 hours of sleep the night before. So their eyes were bugging pretty hard, so it was really nice to Worley to come over and get some fresh eyes and weld the intercooler pipes. My guys, they looked like they were trying to shove square pegs in round holes, you know, as little toddlers. They were so tired. My son did a lot of growing up. Tyler, he was there every minute with my guy Chad. These guys, you know, it's amazing. These guys from these shops that have whatever, they got 100 years of mechanical experience, and they're asking my 18-year-old son what he wants done, and it was great. I mean, they were respecting him, and he did an awesome job at knowing what had to be done and how it needed to be done. And for us to go out there untested, hooked to the sled on a truck that we just kind of threw together, and make it all the way to the end, you know. I didn't want to let those guys down and only be able to move the sled 10 feet. I would have been crushed if that's all that I got out of it, you know. If I got 200 foot out of it, I'd been happy. Not about 250 foot, we tossed the CP3 belt. You know how I told you that motor was only for show or for sale. When we were loading up here at the shop, there's power steering pump, belt tensioners, intercooler pipes, all for that motor to fit in that truck, and I've just set them off to the side. I'm not going to need this, not going to need this, not going to need this, and we needed all those parts. So we had to compromise. I mean, we stripped down my one of my trucks, my dually truck that hauled parts down there. We had to rip parts off the front of that motor to
Oh my God!
cannibalize my ride home. So
was your plan to Uber to get home?
yeah. Well, I was hoping that if we could build a truck, we could at least route the parts back off and get it back on our drivers, you know.
There you go. Now, so Sunday comes to an end. You end up, you placed, what did you place there? Sixth?
Second place at the truck pull.
Okay, second place at the truck pull. Overall, sixth place.
Overall, sixth.
And
yeah.
last year you had placed 12th.
Correct.
So you went from 12th to 6th place. You clearly had the biggest story in UCC of 2019 with your truck literally exploding and catching on fire. The truck came apart, back together literally in a day. I mean, that to me would have to be a win. Would you say not?
Yeah. Derek, who? I was chatting with Derek last night. We're good friends, and we invite them over. They come stay at the house, and we get along really good. And I told him, I says, "You're lucky I didn't make one more pass at the drag strip, because the only thing you'd have on me is the dyno." So he knows. He knows.
He knows.
Yeah. It was an awesome weekend. Great time. Unbelievable. The competitors were awesome. You couldn't ask for it to play out any better. Other than no fire. That'd been nice. But they get that urge once in a while just to raise hell. But Derek's trying to. He wants to do a little better at truck pulling, so he was drilling me last night, and I was giving him a hard time.
Told him
you figure that out on your own.
Yeah, I ain't giving you no fucking secrets. What is this? What is this?
Next year when I pull a can of whoop ass.
Tell them all the nitrous
like,
right at the line. You got it. That's the key to truck pulling. Is you got to spray while you're spooling.
Yeah. And we didn't. I've had bad experiences with nitrous, so we truck pulled without nitrous, and it just runs so beautiful. Like I said, at 250 foot, we lost the other CP3, so we were down to 112 millimeter pump, and crazy how well it did. Competitors, they just overpowered it, So.
Tony comes to this fucking competition with one leg broken, hand tied behind his back. He's like, yeah. Sure. We'll let somebody out there with cut tires run first place. That's cool.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that, man.
I mean, that's a story.
What a cool weekend.
Yeah, that is.
What a fucking rock and roll story. Tony,
Yeah.
I'm sure the list is too long for this podcast, but who are some of the highlights you want to give a shout-out to for this weekend, man?
All the competitors that come and helped. There's Danville, Lock Performance. There's a DPD. There's I can't remember all of them. I was so tired and zombied out. Exergy. Brent was down there with all kinds of fittings and hoses. Brett with the 2-wheel drive 69.
Oh yeah,
Deutsch.
Deutsch, yeah. Worley was down there. We shared the tent with Merchant. We were slobbering tools and bolts and whatever we could from him. And I know there's a bunch of people that were cooking. I don't even know who all was cooking. Danville, robbing parts from their stash. I think we got some stuff from Fleece. I'm not sure if I mentioned Worley helping us out on the plumbing. There's some guys we forgot there. Thoroughbred threw us some fast pumps. And then I have all my sponsors that, have helped me out building the sponsor, and friends and family, all my guys from the shop, and some of my friends that come down there, not from the shop. Walt, Prime Diesel, and their guys. I just can't think of them all. We've been trying to list everyone that was there, looking at pictures and everything else, but it's pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, I mean, you literally go in there on a Friday with a plan, and I mean, Sunday comes around, and the whole weekend for you especially probably just had to be a blur.
Yeah, that was in the middle of the night there. I says, guys, I need to get to bed for a couple hours, and while they do all the heavy work, my son and Chad took over doing the heavy work, making sure to get the motor in and the tranny back in, and the drop box, the gears changed, and front end in it. And so they woke me up when they had all the heavy stuff done, and we started headed doing the more intricate stuff. So I got a few hours of sleep, which I really needed. And
Did you
it was
just
a
hear
few
the
hours
story,
more
Chris?
than.
Hold on, Tony. I got to interrupt. You just heard the story. The fucking boss man is like, heavy work? Yeah. Wake me up when it's done. Yeah, I see how it goes, Tony. I
Dude,
see
he
how it
had a
goes.
traumatizing event take place, man. I would have went to bed too. Shit.
You know, and that's the thing. The guys don't. I don't need to hold their hand. They know what needs to be done, and they went at it and got it done. And
Hey, man, when you trust
we
your
went down
crew,
the track.
right?
Yes. Yep. They'll tell you that I might question them a lot or act like I don't trust them, but you know, when it comes to this event, I walk away and not worry. So it's just a thing that I always want to make sure things are done right, and it's not that they don't do things right, but I want to make sure they're done right. That's it. I mean, my name's on it, right?
There you go.
So they did awesome. It was all I can say is there was one hell of a mess to clean up the next day.
Oh, I can only imagine that.
You said your son was there.
Yeah.
You had somebody to take care of it. I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Tony,
They did actually. When we got back from the awards ceremony, I looked in the tent, and the tent was cleaned out already. I'm like, holy shit, you guys are busy. So that was nice, you know.
that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for doing the show with us. Congratulations, 6th place. That's no joke, guys. This was, as you heard, an amazing story from Tony, from his team, from the whole team at UCC, pitching in to see something amazing come together. 308.92 feet for the sled pull. After what sounds like just the most amazing 24 hours you could imagine in diesel performance.
So don't forget, we are doing the autopsy tonight. So you guys want to check back in the next day or two, and we'll see what, you know, we're only guessing that motor was spinning maybe 10,000 RPMs.
With
Only.
no oil.
With no oil for up to a minute. So at 5 o'clock here, we're going to start knifing it open and see what we find in that motor. I mean, it didn't stop because it was locked up. It, you know, I think that emptied the fuel tank is what happened. So.
Oh my God. Well, listeners, you heard it from Tony yourself. We're going to check back in with him tomorrow. We're going to find out what the hell happened, and you guys will hear it here first. This has been Paul Wilson.
Chris Emke.
Thanks for listening.
The Diesel Performance Podcast is brought to you by Calibrated Power Solutions, home of DuramaxTuner.com. Calibrated Power develops emissions-equipped calibrations for a wide variety of diesel powertrains, including the Duramax, Cummins, PowerStroke, John Deere, Case, New Holland, and many more. For more information and great customer service, check out calibratedpower.com or call 815-568-7920. That's 815-568-7920.
Wow, that's the first time I heard someone call me by Tony this week. It's usually Sparky or Smokey or something like that.